All right, let's talk about something that is pretty much every homeowner's worst nightmare: water damage. It's so much more than just a little puddle on the floor. It can be a full-blown catastrophe. We're going to break down exactly how you can navigate this whole crisis, right from that initial shock to the very last step of recovery.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You hear a weird sound, and before you know it, water is just spreading across your floor. That immediate panic kicks in. But what you do in those first few critical moments, it can literally change everything. This is where being prepared really counts.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that chaotic first hour. Then we'll dive into the hidden dangers of water, the stuff you don't see. After that, we'll walk through the professional restoration process and figure out how to decode the pros. And of course, we'll cover navigating your insurance claim and wrap it all up with the key to a full recovery.
Now, that first hour is all about damage control, right? Stopping the flood. But the real fight, that starts long after the water's gone. You might look around and think the worst is over, but believe me, that visible water is just the opening act. The damage that truly lasts comes from the moisture you can't even see.
And you know, water is a sneaky invader. It can come from a simple leaky washing machine hose, a massive storm that your gutters just can't handle, or even something as nasty as a sewer line backing up right into your home. And each one of these brings its own unique set of headaches.
24 to 48 hours. Seriously, burn that number into your brain. Because after a water event, that's all the time it takes for mold spores, which are, by the way, everywhere all the time, to activate in that damp environment and start to grow. In this situation, speed isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely everything. This quote from our source material absolutely nails it. Your eyes will fool you. A wall can feel totally dry, but behind that drywall, moisture could be secretly brewing up a storm of rot and mold. This is exactly why the pros bring in technology like thermal cameras instead of just trusting what they can see and feel.
So, how do you spot this invisible enemy? Well, your house is going to start talking to you. It'll give you clues. You know that musty smell that just won't go away? Or paint that's suddenly peeling? Baseboards that look a little puffy? Those aren't just minor annoyances. They're giant red flags telling you there's a much bigger problem hiding.
Okay, we've established the problem is way more complex than it looks. So how do the pros actually fix it? I can tell you, it's not just about pointing a few fans at a wet spot and calling it a day. It's a really systematic, scientific process that's broken down into 3 clear phases.
First up is emergency extraction, getting all that standing water out and fast. Then comes phase 2. And honestly, this is the most critical part: structural drying. This is where they bring in the heavy-duty equipment, industrial dehumidifiers, high-speed air movers, to literally pull moisture out of the studs, the subfloor, everything. Only after that's done and verified can you even think about phase 3, which is the actual restoration and rebuilding.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hey, I've got a shop vac and a couple of fans. Can't I just handle this myself? Well, the huge difference between a DIY job and what the pros do really comes down to 2 things: following strict scientific standards and using some seriously specialized tech.
The name you need to know in this industry is the IICRC. Think of it as the gold standard. This organization sets the rules and the science for this work. So when you hire someone who's IICRC certified, you know they're not just guessing. They're following a proven scientific process to get your home properly dry.
And get this, not all water is created equal. The pros actually classify it, which is a huge deal for safety. Category 1 is basically clean water, like from a broken supply line. Category 2, they call that gray water. Think discharge from a dishwasher. It's got some contaminants in it. But Category 3, that's black water. This is the really dangerous stuff, from sewage or river flooding, and it's full of nasty contaminants that pose serious health risks.
Here's a super important distinction a lot of people miss. Mitigation and restoration are not the same thing. Mitigation is the emergency response. It's the triage. It's all about stopping the bleeding by getting the water out and drying the structure to prevent more damage. Restoration? That's the rebuilding that happens after the property is completely dry. You simply can't and shouldn't restore something that's still wet.
So, let's get to the question that's probably been on your mind this whole time. Who is paying for all of this? Let's be real, dealing with your insurance company can be almost as stressful as the water damage itself, but if you take a few key steps, you can make the whole process go a lot smoother.
First, you absolutely have to know what your policy covers.
Your standard homeowner's insurance is usually for those sudden and accidental disasters, like a pipe that bursts out of nowhere. But it almost never covers flooding from rising water outside. That's what a separate flood insurance policy is for. And damage from a slow dripping leak that you didn't fix? Yeah, that's probably not going to be covered.
So what's your immediate action plan? Number 1, if it's safe, stop the water. Next, and I cannot stress this enough, pull out your phone and document everything. Take videos, take photos, get pictures of where the water came from, how high it got, the damaged items, everything. After that, your next call should be to a 24/7 professional restoration company. Then you can call your insurance agent to get that claim started.
Whew, we have covered a ton of ground, from that initial moment of panic all the way to dealing with the insurance claim. So let's just pull it all together and focus on the absolute keys to making sure you have a full, complete, and safe recovery.
It is so important to have realistic expectations. This is not an overnight fix. Yeah, the emergency response happens in that first hour, but the professional drying process, that alone can take anywhere from 3 to 7 days, sometimes longer. Only then can the rebuilding even begin, and that phase could take weeks, all depending on how bad the damage is. So, if you only remember a few things from our time together, let it be these. 1. Speed is everything. That 48-hour window is no joke. 2. Hidden moisture is the true enemy, and that's where DIY cleanups usually fall short. 3. Document, document, document for your insurance claim. And 4. Look for those professional standards, like an IICRC certification, to make sure the job is done right.
And that brings us to our final thought. Getting your property totally dry after a water disaster is, of course, a massive relief. But the real question is, what did you learn from it? Are you now thinking about preventative maintenance, like checking those old appliance hoses? Do you understand your insurance policy before another crisis hits? Because being proactive, that is the ultimate key to recovery.